And we're live. Hi everyone, welcome to Conversations that Mind and Matter. Impactfulness, right? This is Kristin's genius. She just made up that word, and we're going to make good on what that means and how that could help you do your strange comings and goings and graph traversals and becoming famous and fortunate or whatnot, what you are here for in these networks. Right? So with me today is Andrij Harasewych, who has 250,000 close friends to his names, and he will tell you kind of how impactful that can be in many different dimensions. Looking forward to having you talk about that, Andrij. There's also Kristin, who is the uncrowned champion of hashtags and meta hashtags in Google+. And we also have Zara Altair of some NASA renown previously, and she's now gone on to be even more clever and by helping other people in Google+ and elsewhere. And me, John Kellden, I'm running a community called Conversations. That's kind of the short explanation of why this is called Conversations that Mind and Matter. Mind because we are mindful, the four of us. We're the Fab Four after all. And matter because we're here to sort of help you answer any which questions, concerns you might have. So I would like to start with you, Andrij, if it's okay. Please sort of give us the intro and whatever impact you want to sort of start us off with.
Sure. I just want to thank you, by the way. Round of applause for the amazing pronunciation of my name. That was awesome. Best one on Google+ so far. Thank you very much. But yeah, so I'm Andrij Harasewych. Just Andrew is fine as well. For those of you who can't roll those R's, that is a genetic thing that some people can do and some people cannot. It's kind of interesting. But followers, you mentioned close friends, and it's interesting. When we do look at a follower count, we need to remember that there's a lot of factors at play. Mine for one was when I started on Google+. I tried chasing the engagement. I was posting a lot of stuff that I considered had viral intent, basically, oh, this could get shared a lot. And that was kind of my introduction to social media. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, I wasn't even in this industry yet. I was an out-of-work engineer. But by sharing that stuff, I started connecting to a lot of people, and even by chasing that little virality, I made a little bit of impact, and I started learning my, I guess, kind of my place here. And that place would be, the voice of reason, sometimes being a little to the point of being kind of a jerk, but it does come from a good place, at least I hope it does. But I kind of want to be that anti-guru. That's kind of the name of my blog now. It's that we can be ourselves. We can have our own senses of humor. We don't have to be these robots that just have to share what everyone else will like. And to be able to succeed online. So I kind of started switching what I'm sharing. I try to share that kind of viral stuff, and nothing naturally viral. It goes viral. You know what I mean, though. But yeah. So when you do look at a follower count, though, so I ended up on the suggested user list. My follower count started shooting up. It still goes up a few hundred per day, but I would actually trade those 280-some thousand followers for 10 subscribers any day. 10 people who follow every single word versus 100,000, 200,000 who might possibly see my post in a stream.
Yeah. You mentioned here, kind of, sorry to interrupt, but I mean, this is kind of a 8 out of 10, at least, of everyone in all digital platforms are kind of struggling with, okay, I have 1 gazillion followers, but does that translate into leads or even followers of my blog outside these digital platforms, or at least referrals or whatever else I sort of would make for a meaningful impact, and it translate into whatever single, double, or triple bottom line that we are operating from. Right? So I would actually want to ask, Sarah, you are doing your SAPs, right? Is that kind of the right pronunciation?
The what?
The SAP thing, the Wednesday things, right?
I I am.
Because that I think you sort of working your way towards a possible solution. Sort of this very strange translation from many kind of what to put it, ephemeral, transient followers into something kind of slightly more solid.
Well, yes, I think that's really true, and one of the things that happens on that particular hangout is the audience. The audience is just so engaged and attentive and listen and question. I mean, it's just, oh, and what happens is when a guest comes, some of them have never seen the show, they have no experience with it, and they come and, you know, we have our conversation, and then very consistently they go, wow, your audience, I just don't believe them, you know, the audience is just great. And I think it's because the conversations that we have are not scripted. We, just like this conversation that we're having right now, we haven't scripted anything, we just picked the topics. So usually we have about 3 points, topics, themes, whatever you want to call them, that the guests would like to cover in that period of time. And we go there, but we often get diverted by the questions and comments of the audience. But I just wanted to follow up on what Andrij said, and that is, I did the exact same thing when I first started. You know, it's like, you know, it's like second guessing. It's like, oh, you know, this is really cool, I'm going to share this, and, you know, all these people will follow me, and, you know, and I got followers, but they weren't following me, they were following my, you know, beautiful photographic image that I had found somewhere else, or, you know, kitty stuff or something like that.
Stop sharing. Follow someone else.
Sharing, but, you know, and all of a sudden I went, you know, I keep preaching about being you, and I'm not being me. Yeah, I love kitties. Yes, I love beautiful mountains, but that wasn't the me, you know. And when I started sharing things that were me, that's when I started getting followers who were really resonating with what I saw, what I had to say, the music that I liked, whatever it was. The more personal I made my posts and my shares, the more the followers, the core followers, I don't know, what would you call them, Andrew? The core followers, the ones that are really paying attention to you. You know,
real followers.
What do you call them, your friends?
Followers, yeah, the real followers were resonating with what I was putting out, and I think that's true also of the live broadcast, is that there is true engagement, and the questions, whether they're mine or whether they come from the audience, are real. I have had a couple of people turn me down because it wasn't scripted, and I said, and I also told them that it was audience driven. So, you know, when the audience has a question, that comes first, and they're like, whoa, you know, well, you know, all of a sudden they'd be very busy.
It's a very different way of coming at it. It's totally different.
Kristin, you have managed to, in a relatively short time, kind of risen to kind of fame and fortune already in Google+, right? So this is kind of where something that now is mentioned both by Andrij and by Zara, and kind of resonance, right? And in your blurb, you kind of say that kind of what might be counterintuitive, right? To sort of get to leverage networks, go deep, right? So, I mean, the floor is yours, right? What's
It can be a scary thing to put yourself out there, but I think, well, for my case, I had so many years where I couldn't have any contact with anybody. So now, like, now that I'm out of the situation I was in, now it's like I'm just like all over everything, and I'm like, I just want to talk to everybody. I want to have that communication because I'm thirsty for it. And I think that there's a lot of people that are like that out in this world. And I think a lot of us gravitate toward this Google Plus environment because or whatever environment that you're able to connect with someone. It doesn't have to just be Google Plus. It could be LinkedIn. It could be Twitter. You know, it could be anything. Facebook. But whenever you grab someone and you realize that there's a connection there, then it's like a whole new world of communication opens up. And then it becomes about the conversation, and it becomes about that next step. Like, okay, so now where do we take this? Now we realize there's a connection. Where do we take it?
Yeah, I mean, this is
and then you start talking about values.
Yeah, I mean, that's great, right? Because values, for the new listener, viewer, reader, whatnot, beginning to be our loyal fans, whoever you are listening to this, when I dubbed this Conversations That Mind and Matter, obviously it was just a kind of a clever branding marketing trick, right? And I should sort of be properly chastised for it. No, mind and matter. I mean, the key word is actually the and, right? And Kristin, the genius that she is, just identify its values, right? Those real values, and we've all touched upon this now, right? So mind, obviously, I can sort of go biosemiosis with the best, right? And speak and say things that no one would ever understand and no one would ever care about. But I have kind of a loyal, small inner cabal in the conversation community that actually cares about these things, and then I can really go deep. I mean, offensively deep. And then, obviously, I am from north of Sweden, and half of my clan doesn't say a word. I mean, that's a normal kind of default way of in Sweden. You don't speak at all, ever, right? Unless forced. And I inherited the other gene, right? Kind of the half of our clan is kind of blabbermouths, right? So it just happens to be kind of okay, right? I mean, in a network, if you want to talk with many people, it actually helps if you actually like to talk. I mean, it's as simple as that, right? So impact can come in so many different ways, shapes, and forms. But the key thing that we touched upon when Andrij said, "I'm happily trading those to 10 really great subscribers." I mean, it's values, right?
I mean, I would say I'll disclaimer that. I would say I would hope that some of those 10 are influencers in their own right as well, because you know the numbers have to work out somehow. But yeah. Right, it's you know I would take 10 influencers over 250,000 hangers on for viral gifts. That's not really, doesn't help anyone. And like Zara was saying, if you stop posting that stuff one day, people won't care. They'll just find the next guy who shares the gifts and shares the pictures, and they're not watching you in the stream. They're not watching you in the stream. They're just watching the stream, and you just happen to be posting something funny in it. And I think that's something really important to note. It's not you they're following. It's the content. So until you're yourself online, you can't get any followers yourself. So I don't know.
I mean,
I want to bring up.
Go ahead.
I just want to bring up something from Johnny S. I've always appreciated Andrew's honesty. It actually drawed me to G+ when I was contemplating stepping away, and I think that fits in really nicely right here.
Yeah, I mean, this is fantastic. I mean, and kudos to you, Andrij, for having catalyzing such reactions. I mean, a couple of days ago, I was being called Pops by a young conversation community member, and I see this as a badge of honor, right? Really. I mean, obviously, I could sort of have chosen to take offense, right, given that I'm kind of growing slightly senile and old and so on. But I mean, honestly, if people bother to sort of call you something, it shows that they care, right? And if people are angry with something they're doing, well, then it's almost a sure sign that you're doing something right, because you suddenly are out there. I mean, a larger part of you than just sort of, and obviously I need to confess that I can sort of share cats and dogs, and obviously also even the occasional squirrel, right, to make matters even worse. But there's usually a point connecting back to my real story. It just happened to, for me, it's kind of a matter of, if I would only do biosemiosis, I would have extremely loyal following, and the full circle count would be 3 people. I mean, this kind of it would kind of defeat the purpose, right? So why the hell am I on the platform then if that's the only thing I'm doing? But to the defense of everyone listening, if you have 10 followers in Google+, that's perfect. If you have 10 million followers, that's also perfect. That doesn't matter almost at all. What does matter, if you then begin to see what's your real story, the part that you want to share and grow legs and goes places outside in networks. And when you do that, you have any which kind of tasks in place. I mean, pressing publish, hosting Hangouts, participating in Hangouts, blogging on the side, whatever you're doing, right? Or if you go retail, buy my socks. I mean, it could be anything. And then the third thing, to actually sort of getting to impact, so you can sort of understand this, is what metrics do you have, right? I mean, metrics is kind of something that I hope to do comes February, March, or April. I mean, metrics is a big thing, right? And it's not to be feared, not to be scoffed at, because for me, metrics boils down to one thing. If I'm kind of solid in my story, it's really me. And if I share that in a blog post, a Google Plus post, a tweet, or whatnot, fine. But does it work, right? So we've already touched upon kind of obviously kind of the quick win, right? The cat gifts and whatnot. I mean, so it's a loyal, it's kind of massive amount of followers, but they're not loyal. And why should it be, right? Because we're just not being ourselves. But if we have some kind of metrics that tells us this really works in terms of conversion, in terms of impact, in terms of making a difference, making a big effing dent in the universe, or whatever it is that we want to do. So the metrics would then show us, okay, do more of that because that's really good, that's really you. Do less of that because that really doesn't work, or that is not really you, right? So it's kind of it's surprisingly simple, but impact is also complex. So this is kind of, if we can sort of touch upon why are we both keen on having followers and not keen on having followers. I mean, that's kind of really kind of a complex thing.
Well, right, don't get me wrong. I love gaining followers. It's just a rock and a hard place. You can't always consider someone's follower count as the be all end all of are they important or not, and because that's not the case. And you do have to look at their profile, see how targeted their impact is. Just to bring it back to the topic, it's about targeted impact, not wide scale impact. You don't want an area of effect. You want like a laser, just one little. That's all you really need. Target that specific person. Let's say you want to get in touch with an influencer. You shouldn't just post cat gifs and start mentioning them all the time. That's the area of effect attempt. Instead, go to one of their hangouts, talk to them, share your thoughts with them, and that's the laser. Getting down there. So, just sidetrack.
I mean, the effect thing is really huge. I mean, in the green rooms, Sarah and I touched upon comparing stories about dogs, right? So this tells me that you don't have to have a PhD. Obviously, if you have a PhD, kind of flaunt it, right? I mean, go for it. If you like to talk, well, talk, right? If you can do clever analysis or curation of stuff, and you can sort of do graph traverse like that, well, do. If you just regular Yo Schmo from somewhere, that's a strength, right? So this is kind of where this is, for me, the real magic of a network, and then the impact we can do via networks, augmented, advanced, amplified, whatnot, clever words beginning with an A, via these networks, is we can listen to each other, right? I mean, Sarah is possibly the uncrowned champion of listening to other people. Right? This is kind of why her Wednesday thingies actually work as well as they do, because she can actually listen to and have it's kind of an audience generated. We need to almost invent a new genre for the content, right? Audience generated content instead of user generated content. So it's a subtle but I think very important difference, because the listening thing, I mean, I'm fond of returning back to basic definitions. I mean, if you're selling something, it's kind of be liked, qualify, close, right? Simple as that. Anyone can do it. We can sell sand to Arabs if we want to, just as if we want sort of to, if you know the magic trick, right? But what if the networks enables us to do? I mean, be like this, obviously, fine, right? And be nice, be kind, damn it, as Kurt Vonnegut would say. Qualify is kind of listening to the network, right? I mean, the weak signals from the cat gives and so on, right? But I think close is kind of ready to sort of be augmented a bit. Kind of, it leads further, right? It becomes general narrative. If you're selling good enough, others will tell others about. And I mean, what I'm kind of getting at, kind of a bit slow, but anyway, good, solid, sustainable impact, right? So others will tell. Zara is kind of the go-to person when it comes to getting up to speed in terms of listening. I mean, because this is important literacy. I mean, I'm crap at listening, as you've already kind of understood by now, right? I like to talk way too much, right? So, anyway, Kristin has a.
Oh yeah, that's a jewel.
Yeah. Okay. 12 followers was enough for Jesus to leave a bit of a mark on the world.
Yeah.
So well said.
I should have used 12 as my number. That would have been very deep. But yeah, I mean, everyone has different beliefs and all that. I don't want to say that this is like a Christian hangout, but at the same time, I mean, that's true. I mean, there's a lot of stories that he went around teaching people. I mean, that could be historically verified that he existed at that time. So believe what you
definitely famous enough, right?
Definitely had a following.
And actually, in terms of impact, Sarah and I also in the green room, we talked about that. I mean, Swedish is my first language, and English is just my second, right? So it's kind of just a bloody miracle that anyone understands me at all when I'm doing English, because it's kind of this different things going on underneath, right? Even though I try to sort of do it passably well, but deeper than that, how on earth do we know that anyone actually understands anything of what we're saying? Because they have different upbringing, different values, different context, different anything, right? I mean, people are really, really weird out there. I mean that weird as a badge of honor, obviously, right? I mean, for me, weird is a kind of a sign of you actually becoming kind of who you are and owning your story. So miracles are. I mean, you need to turn it down a notch. I don't mean sort of walking on water. Manny, hi.
Manny, hi.
The miracles I'm talking about is kind of the ability to create a whole digital community. I mean, we just made this up, right? Suddenly there's 1,200 people in the conversation community, and how did that happen, right? I mean, why are they there, right? I mean, it's not only because of my good looks, right? It has to be something else, right? So, and I mean, let's bring in Manny. I mean, really great to have you here. You know, just
thanks, John.
Say hi. And I mean, you know a thing or two, Manny, about impact, right? I mean, you basically so I mean, feel free to take it away, Manny. I mean, because this is kind of the impactfulness hangout, right?
Well, I don't have much context, so I don't know. Where do you want me to go? Because I can go.
No, I mean, graph level, getting to shared understanding, getting real with other people, getting to actually people to connect. There's lots of kind of dimensions to it. I mean, but the main thing is impact, right?
Yeah. Well, in order for someone to have impact, they have to have a sense of agency and a sense of efficacy. So they have to feel as if what they're doing is relevant to the group, and as if it's they have to feel validated, as if the people around them are appreciating it, or else you feel like you're running on a treadmill. So, and then when you get a group of people together who have the same set of values, they end up pushing towards the impact together because they hold each other up, they motivate each other, and they can be their authentic selves without a sense of deprecation from others.
Yeah. I mean, to weave in some context, I mean, me and Manny have sort of been around the block a couple of times and done some 4-hour hangouts, I think, which no one in the right mind should ever go watch.
Yeah.
But I mean, no, seriously, this is good stuff. It's just a bit long. But he and I have been touching upon some you can sort of build impactfulness capability, if that is even a way of putting it. So there's a good solid internal counterpart, staying true to your own story, basically self-efficacy. And the good thing with self-efficacy is kind of a accepted scientific term, right? So you can actually sort of do your research and improve on that, right? But what it basically means, translated into kind of colloquial English, is kind of sticking to your real self and your true story, even if sometimes you can sort of feel like you want to cheat or take a shortcut, right? Then I basically just invented a kind of counterpart in the external, in the network dimension, right? It's kind of co-efficacy. Can we actually combine agency, curiosity, inclusivity, efficacy to get good things done? I mean, this is a huge topic, right? But if we do, then the impactfulness and the impact increases by order of magnitude. I mean, so I'm kind of just feel free to sort of hog the mic, anyone, sort of to spin further on that.
Well, I actually wanted to jump back really quick to the Jesus example. It's for some reason just really clicked with me all of a sudden. Something that's interesting about even just the spread of Christianity. I went to Villanova University. I did Bible redaction classes where we actually compared the different books of the New Testament and things like that. And it's kind of like a social media influencer. Instead of Christianity just being like, oh, everyone should just believe in Christianity now because this is what I tell you to do. Instead, they went out and they had key influencers in different areas in different regions, and they tailored the story to the audience. And that's really kind of how they did. It's in the New Testament. You have one book that says to the rich Greeks, they're like, hey, you can keep all your money. It's okay. You can still be good in the eyes of God. And then they had the parts to the poorer Jews that were, give away all your riches, well, because they already did, so they were good in the eyes of God. And they slowly pulled people in by focusing on what was important to them. And, some people can say, yeah, that was kind of stretching the truth a bit, but it's an example. We're just example here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great example because, I mean, obviously we can sort of argue till kingdom come about sort of the relative merits of whether you should actually be kind of religious or not. We can't argue against impact, right? I mean, even the effing Crusades, right? I mean, if that's not impact, I'm not sure what. I mean, those who were kind of subjected to the impact of the Crusaders, they definitely felt the impact, right? So, but in this day and age, it's kind of everyone needs to almost start thinking about really deeply about what is really resonating, right? I mean, what I kind of try to coin with co-efficacy is that if someone comes along like David Amelin, I mean, he's the best invention since sliced bread, almost, right? If I don't need to know anything about semantic search or SEO because I can just ask David. I mean, what's not to like? And I could do that for a number of other people. So I don't need to sort of weary my kind of poor brain because there's tons of. I mean, so in a network, the best place to store knowledge in other people is I'm actually doing that, right? So this is not just kind of a fancy little quote. So, but doing so means that we need to discern and be wary of, are we forming some kind of network cabal, right? Are we performing some kind of network miracles or what? I mean, so returning again to Kristin's core thing, right? Values, right? Are there values? If so, how do we align with, through, around, and on top of them, right?
I think that there's something that has to be said for the way in which you spread your values. Because one thing that I've noticed about David is he stays out of a lot of controversial things without staying out of them. And I don't know how he does it. But somehow he is able to project himself in a way that I don't know one person that doesn't love him. How does he do that?
I mean, he's a likable guy, right? So there's obviously simple explanation, right? But deeper, he has.
He's also too busy to get into arguments. He has so much to do. I don't think he has the time to even argue.
I think it goes back to something that Manny said earlier that we kind of skimmed over, and that was the part about, I've forgotten Manny's exact words, but it was the part about not harming the other people in the group.
Yeah.
That's really it's not a corollary. It's part of the whole value system of creating impact, forming a community, and a community that really interacts and shares their foibles as well as their strengths, and that people are taking care of each other in a way that prevents harm to the people in their community. That doesn't mean they don't disagree, because disagreement furthers understanding, but that there's a place where, at the heart, if you will, in that core place, that you are caring for the people in your community.
Yeah.
And to harm one is to harm all. I have always thought that.
I mean, this is kind of, obviously, no one else in the network needs to agree on that. I just happen to 100% agree with what you just said, Sarah. And also, just the simple fact of sort of voicing that means that I'm ready to sort of become a bit vulnerable, but kind of, yeah, I'm tagging along on that, right? I mean, I'm sticking my neck out and just saying, yeah, what she said, right? But
no,
if
it's
I can give a word of advice, I mean, because I've sort of gotten so many kind of private messages, right? I mean, John, should you say, because you're a blabbermouth, you have 10,000 Google Plus posts, you just sort of out there, right? It's like comes natural. But what should I do? Is completely mortified by sort of pressing the poor publish button, right? So here's my advice, right? The vulnerability is strength, right? Is where it's curiosity, it's vulnerability, but it's also sort of agency, right? So if we go out there, obviously there's trolls, right? We should be realistic, right? There's people out there, but this is where, if you stick to your story, you can say no, and you can say no quite forcefully, and that's also kind, right? So this does not mean this kind of strange perversion of kindness where you should need to sort of reason with the trolls. I have a simple rule in conversation committee. You should be very practical about it. 3 strikes and you're out. And if you're really offensive to someone, then 1 suffices. Then you're out, right?
Yeah, I'm usually a 1-strike rule kind of guy. I mean, well, then again, I do like to toy with them from time to time. That can be fun. But once I'm done playing, then I just toss it out. I'm like the cat who finds the mouse. I just want to bat it around a little bit and then let it go.
Yeah, and obviously some kind of discerning listener, viewer, reader should now say, well, Andrij just had a different rule than John. Well, guess what? We're different, right? We're kind of sticking to our story. We're as authentic as we can possibly be. So this means that if you go join Andrij, or if you go join John, you need to learn how to play well with them, right? But not to the exclusion of sort of sticking to your own story, right? There's obviously no hard and fast, simple and simplified rules can ever cover for all contingencies, right? So impact comes with learning by doing as well, right? Not only sort of learning by reflecting, which is nice. Learning by doing is you're going to get your ass whooped, right? Your head whacked on the side of, and lots of other kind of things, right?
To take your lumps, and I think that's something a lot of people aren't willing to do. And that's I do, by social media strategy, the community, I do somewhat run it at times the way a community shouldn't be run. Funny enough, because a community you shouldn't ever put down a user. You shouldn't ever, but when you have people who are claiming to be professional marketers, who are claiming to be marketing agencies, who are SEO experts that come in and they spam a community without reading the rules, reading the description. That's your job. That's not just some business owner who's just trying his hardest to get his passion out there. That's actually someone who's going forward and saying, "Oh, this is my skill," and they're showing the complete lack of any kind of knowledge or anything. So when I sometimes rip into someone for doing so, I mean it's because they're lying to businesses every day. I mean, is that what, if I hire you for your social services, are you just going to spam me around to communities, make people hate my business too? And that's something it gets me passionate, because I hate seeing, how many of us that are marketers have had a client who goes, yeah, I've been scammed in the past, so I'm going to hold off on that retainer. I'm going to lower, maybe we should start simpler for, there's a lot of things that happen because of these scammers that, you know, it ruins it for everyone. And
yeah, and so like I help moderate some of your communities, right? And I can see from the things that get flagged automatically, I like to go through there, and it's obvious when you can see someone writing because they are that person trying to get their message out there because they're passionate about it. And so sometimes it doesn't fit with what we have laid out as these are the rules of our community. And so I write to them and I say, thank you so much, and I acknowledge them. And I think that acknowledgement is key to social media.
And that's exactly
flat out, period.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
I ban them, or not ban them, but like I kick their post and I say, okay, come back later, rewrite this, and this is what we're looking for because we want to have you here. And I think that people need to know that they are wanted.
Yeah. I mean, this thing I wouldn't touch at the risk of sort of throwing a kind of monkey wrench into kind of this lovely dialogue, right? It's time, right? Because almost all my objections because I mean, this is almost an ATM machine, right? Go in here, do stuff, and get rewarded. I mean, what's not to like? I mean, you can reach millions of people, or you can reach just a key targeted 100, and still it's fantastic. So, but the key objection is, no, I don't have time, right? And so some of my clients are basically just, I'm a persistent guy, right? I mean, no, okay, give us the honest reason. I mean, the real reason, right? So I keep asking the fabled Toyota 5 or 7 whys, right? So it gets down to brass tacks and what is this actually, right, stopping you from doing whatever you want to do. And the time thing is interesting when it comes to networks, because then people want to have, give me the 3-step rules, right? Give me the cheat sheet, give me the shortcut, right? So, but here's possibly a good takeaway from people who want just the simple stuff, right? Mind you, the conversation I sort of started it with the intention of there's going to be some nuts and bolts, that simple stuff in there somewhere in between our kind of superpowers and talking about stuff in kind of many dimensions at the same time. So here it is. Forget about the 3 simple rules, right? But what you can do is looking at what other people are doing. So if people are doing content marketing, don't get intimidated by the stuff, the content. Look at what their intention is when they're doing it, right? And then you can actually go do some research. I mean, read through some of our posts, right? Read through the community guidelines. It doesn't just takes minutes, and then you can go ask them nicely. What do you think? Is rule number 3 really, really important, or rule number 2? If I'm skirting on the edges, what do you think? I mean, every community manager at Google Plus, at least, would love you for doing that, right? I mean,
to be completely honest, I don't even think it's a lack of time. It's a lack of planning, and it's a lack of understanding. People don't make business plans anymore. When they want to start a business, they just start the business now. They don't sit down. They don't think about who is my market. How am I going to get it to them? How do I market my business? Instead, they just launch it and they go, oh, excuse me, marketers, can you help me launch my business for free while you get no income from this at all? Can you just do my job for me? And that's, I hate that with such a, like it really bothers me that people just want that easy way out. But honestly, I taught myself this. Just take 5-10 minutes a day, do some personal growth, read. Don't just ask for the answer. Start learning how to use Google. There's a Google Advanced Search class. Take it. Once you learn how to Google, you can find everything you need. Yes, you need to make sure that it's valid information. Obviously, I'm not saying that Google is the be-all, end-all of data and info, but I mean that's a start. It's if you don't have any other resources, you have to start that way. And you try to find the influencers here, find their content. Yeah.
But Google does kind of take out quite a bit of the yucky stuff, right?
Focus on that first page. Try not to go too far down. Because they're getting better at pushing the good.
They're great at figuring out the people that are just trying to game systems.
Unless you don't know how to search. So actually, I would recommend taking that search class, because that's what happens is it's like a confirmation bias where people actually, by not searching for the right terms, they're finding the exact crap that they're searching for. You know, it's like people I was watching on the nightly news. They were talking about the measles outbreak in Disneyland and how it's because of confirmation bias. It's people that go online and they go, oh, do vaccines cause autism? And by searching for that term, they're finding the sites that are talking about how vaccines cause autism, and those aren't good sources either. But those are the ones that are popping up because they were SEO, trained for those terms. It's you got to get better at finding the objective information and
Yeah.
then
I mean,
balance.
to give a kind of a solid corporate example, I mean, there might be some people with business leanings kind of listening to this, right? There's Airbnb didn't start out as Airbnb. Right? They started out as kind of trying to sort of peddle air mattresses, right? Which is obviously a disastrous idea. But they had a good solid team, and they did a couple of 100 iterations of a beginningly fairly crap idea. And they ended up with I mean, you could think all you want about Airbnb, but you can't sort of argue the impact. Right? So you could now squat in any conceivable place on the planet via them, right? So that was a good solid idea. So it just takes. Did they start with Airbnb? No. It started with air mattresses, right? So the starting thing is kind of the magic, right? Because once they started, they had sort of put half their house and stuff on the line, right? So they had to sink or swim, right? So, and obviously I don't sort of advocate kind of, I mean, don't quit your day job if you're not absolutely certain that you know what you're doing. But if you get that idea that I want to test this, right? I will send out a couple of blog posts to Google Plus or Twitter or Facebook or whatnot. I mean, getting out there, do a couple of hangouts. I mean, by the way, I mean, Bronnie Binzer is, if you at all happen to want to sort of get up to speed, I mean, go get clued in by him. If you want to get quickly up to speed in terms of the mechanics of Google Plus, go be clued in by Dennis Labelle. If you want to do how to get rich and famous on Google Plus, well, go join Plus Your Business by Martin Shervington, right? The difference, the big difference here is that I now sort of vouch for 3 people, and believe it or not, they aren't paying me time to say this, right? Because there's kind of a gifting economy happening in between us who kind of have been around the block, and we help each other because not only because it makes business sense, because it's kind of what we do, right? We're kind of marketers second, and we are decent human beings first, right?
We also help each other because we know each other, because we've built relationships over time, because, and even though I don't know you, I haven't gotten to know you very well in Hangouts, but we do roll in the same circles, and through that, through my other relationships, I know that you are a worthwhile connection to have. Thus, I knew coming on the show is a good idea. But if you're a complete unknown and you're just jumping in, like you said, if you want Martin's help, go to the Plus Your Business community, but don't just jump in and immediately go, hi, Martin, I need your help. Please help me, help me, help me, help me, help me. No, please just slide in, start reading. You might find in the community that 15 other people asked the same question you did, and you could just get the 15 different answers instead of asking for it again and wasting Martin's time and wasting moderators' time and wasting other members' time when they see it in the stream. And instead of seeing something that would have been more important for them from the community, because you only see some posts from the community natively in stream, then you're missing out on something that could have been better.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I push for is that kind of mentality. I mean, I actually here I'll put up, if you see on my lower third, I have my email there. If you need any help, email me. Don't make a public post to the community to 200,000 people that you don't know what you're doing. Send me a message. I love to help people, just in the appropriate places and at the appropriate times to help them. Privately. You don't publicly announce that you have no idea what you're doing in business world and you need us to do it for you, but you also can't pay for anyone to do it for you. I mean, it's not how it works. I mean, if I might give you some free advice, but I also might say, hey, you know what? I could market your idea. Let's talk business, and we could work something out. You never know. That's how business works, though, and you can't just expect someone to give you a fully working business and be like, here you go, profit off my work. Thank you.
That's such a good point.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because like, okay, so we put ourselves out there and we say, okay, get a hold of me, that's fine. And a lot of us are like, just, we figured out the secret to how to do this thing, and we just want to give back because it's natural, right? You get something and you're so grateful for it that you just, it's natural. You want to say, okay, everyone come here because I learned this from someone else, and let's just do this thing, let's like make this whole circle of gratefulness. But some people, I think they might even reach out. But I'm just going to make a public plea right now. When you're reaching out to me in chat, please tell me I need help. First thing. Don't try to do the dancing around, the hello, hi, how are you thing. Let me know right up front that you need help, because then I'll be there, and I won't tell you to go meet me on stream.
What do you want now? What do you want, person? Like, I don't know. Why are you being like, but it's because it's a little unnatural, because it's like they knocked on your front door and they're standing there and they're like, hi. Now, I'm only here to be friendly, but actually, just tell me you want help. Yeah.
No, I need to know you need help. Then I'm totally happy to be there and help you.
You know what I say? I tell people who do that, they get a ping and there they are, and hi, how are you, blah blah blah, and I'm like, I'm in business. This is my business connection, and these are my business hours. And if you need help, we can talk. Otherwise, I'm not here to this is business. If you want to talk to me over, this is about business. I don't want to talk about the weather or how you are or what's happening with your girlfriend.
But how confusing is it, though? I wonder. I'm just throwing this out there. I wonder how confusing it may be, because we're always saying, in one, like, you could look at it in one way, that we're saying conversation, and then we like throw them out because we're like, you're not telling us what, what you need.
It's not that, Kristin. It's that you can tell when somebody's approaching you for a real conversation. It's pretty self-evident from the second sentence.
At the risk of mortifying all my poor British loyal subjects now, if someone sends me an email and it starts with, hi, I trust you are well, then
no one speaks
with utmost respect, sod off.
Yeah.
Right? Go away, don't bother me, because you have just sort of invoked a ritual that died 100 years ago, and please, right? Really. And I think I sort of tried to cram as much sarcasm, irony as I possibly could, because I don't normally do sarcasm, irony, right? So if people then understand, which should be obvious if they just would ask me, right, where you're from. I'm from the north of Sweden, right? We either like people or we tell them to go sod off, right? I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, it saves everyone a lot of time and grievances. But if people will do ritual, there's obviously time and place for that as well, right? But because this wouldn't work. I mean, the whole platform, the whole Google Plus shenanigan itself is kind of a big collective ritual, right? We would kind of behave accordingly to the algorithms and plus buttons and shares and whatnot. Right? So kind of a quite elaborate ritual. But the good thing, and here's kind of where I harken back to when I started, and this is ages ago, back in the dark ages in 2011, right? Where the first thing I kind of hit me was, whoa, a plus button, a game, well, and I'm kind of a game designer kind of on the side of things, right? So that's cool for me, right? Then I just scurried around because I'm a curious person. I saw, whoa, no rules, an infinite game, I'm in, right? So this is kind of my way of sort of making friends with the platform, the algorithm. Right? So if people can only see that what works for them, is it cats? Well, okay, then do cats, right? But I mean, it will be of a limited return on engagement if you just do that. I mean, obviously, if you're running a cat community, then that's kind of what you should do. So there's always exceptions to the rule. Then, if you do selfies, well, if you're a self-absorbed person, well, go ahead and do selfies, right? Fine. And here's the thing: content marketing can be seen as digital desire lines. So whatever we want to think about marketers and digital content marketers as the scourge of the earth, well, you can obviously believe that, but they can also help you get to where you want to go slightly quicker and slightly less effort. So obviously there's tons of bad content marketers out there, but that's not because they're content marketers. That's because they are, well, lack of slow carbs when they grew up. I don't know, karma. Take a pick, right? Could be anything.
I think it has to do with discernment, and I wanted to read what David Amerlin just shared. He says, Cheryl Deuce, thank you, and I have made more than my share of mistakes over the years. I kind of try really hard to not repeat them.
Yeah.
And that's discernment, you know. Oh, whoa,
yeah.
I made a mistake. You acknowledge your mistake, and you move forward, and you learn from that. I think.
And also, this is kind of hallmark David Amerlin, because now he already knows that I'm almost going to say that's also wise. That shows vulnerability. That shows there's a human beating heart underneath the David Amerlin, the SEO semantics robot, right? So, sorry, David, I had to put that out just in fun, because he has got superpowers, right? Anyone who has read anything about Google Plus understands that, right? How we could sort of put all those things together is kind of beyond me.
Oh, and
but
just
anyway,
to backwards, the search class I was talking about, it's the power searching with Google. It got a little cut off here, but shout out to William Rock for linking that in the comments real quick. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is good, because this is where if you now have, you can sort of forget the rest of this whole Hangout, even though it's kind of 100% brilliant, right? So if you do David's comment as a solid seed crystal for your why, and feel free to tweak that according to whatever kind of dialogue you enter in conversations with. So that's the why. And then you have the power search with Google as the how. I'm here to tell you that if you combine that why and tweak it so it suits your why, right? Particularly your values, preferences, lunch, whatnot, and the how, you basically have a core of a methodology. So now you kind of you don't have to be a lost kitten anymore, because I mean, this is a solid takeaway. I need to emphasize that, because sometimes people overcomplicate things, right? Even though it's complex, I mean, it's millions of people here, and we are all different, and by rights this shouldn't work at all, but it does. Small miracles, big miracles, whatnot, medium size. But once you have a methodology, I mean, I'm not saying this is the perfect methodology, but if you start with a why and start with a how, you can begin to see, does that work? And then you have some kind of baseline to go by. Okay, so do a little less of what doesn't work and do a little more what does work. You couldn't be able to do that. I mean, you could also scorched earth or luck on a prayer and on a whim. I mean, there's loads and loads of rules of thumb and heuristics out there, right? But actually, you can actually go search Google Plus and heuristics, right? And then you could ask the really clever people to clue you in on how to get from your own preferred A to your own preferred B with much less hassle and much less grievances and much less blowback and whatnot. But I mean, if grievances, hassle, blowback, and being trolled or whatnot is your cup of tea, then obviously hit and miss is a great rule of thumb, right? So go ahead, right? Be out there. So there's no such thing as the one way to get impact. But there's some good solid points on the way. I mean, stick to your story, work your story. I mean, I'm not sure if that's even.
Well, you were saying there's no one way to make impact, but there's one path to learning how to make impact, and that's, you search for the information, you read, you grow, ask questions when appropriate, but try to find the answers yourself. I always use the old Confucius. It's a Confucius, but teach a man to fish, or no, sorry, give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime, and that's learning how to search and find the information yourself. You will be so much stronger for it. I kind of get shocked when people come to Google Plus and they don't consider the Google connection. They don't consider that Google is search based. I mean, the power of Google Plus is search. I still get people every single day that are reacting on posts from 2011, from 2012, 2013. They're finding those through search. And that's kind of, it shows me that it does work. And it's neat. Sadly, a lot of those are like those more viral posts that I was sharing back then, but they do show up, and that's something. There's longevity to it. So
Kristin has graciously enough kind of said to me that there's 4 minutes to go.
I forgot.
Andrew, what you said is kind of a brilliant seg towards closure for this. If we say something brilliant about our superpowers and how we make impact and how we play well with search algorithms and semantics, but also it just struck me that we should probably do some kind of semantics SEO thing for the next conversations on Mind and Matter, kind of next month, right? So if we can say something in 4 minutes, kind of 1 minute each, and say something awfully clever about impact and semantics, then that would be fantastic, right?
I've already said too much, so you guys go ahead. That was mine, the one I said before.
Yeah.
I want to hear from
Actually,
Nate.
I could sort of jump in and say something possibly in 30 seconds. And this is kind of nicked from David Amelin. So again, thanks, David. Volume, velocity, veracity, and variety. If you learn by heart what those mean in a network context and in a semantic network and SEO net, you'll be fine, right? It's kind of a rocket fuel for your graph traversal. That was mine. Right? So I mean, next conversation about Matter, roughly a month from now, will be probably kind of expanding more on that. Right?
Zara?
Oh my goodness! John,
Give us gold.
wanted it to be brilliant. I had my graduate advisor. Every time I'd raise my hand to say something, he'd say, "Will it be brilliant?" And I just went right on, and I just impact. The impact is you, and I love what Andrij has been saying this morning about going out, learning, gathering the information, and learning, and then implementing for yourself. That's really how you learn anything. But it's really important here on Google Plus, because the more that you do that, and the more that you practice, and the more mistakes you've made, okay, you've made them, now you move on. The more impact will happen, and it happens to you. It's not that you go out there. I think this is just where we started at the very beginning of our conversation this morning. It's that the being yourself and the being you, and whatever that is, however you act, that is what is impactful.
And I wanted to say we're almost done. But you said fear, and that's something. When you do make a mistake, don't be crippled by fear of not making that mistake again. I had some issues recently, in personal, professional life, and I was kind of letting it get to me, and I around the new year, I decided I'm like no, and I decided to just keep going, and that's all you can do. And you've only failed if you give up. So that was mine. Next person.
I mean, these are fantastic. Kristin, do you have one?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna read my post that I made the other day. The connections we make is titled. When we begin to see the face of another in the everyday activities we engage in, then we may acknowledge the impact we have had on one another. And I think that is just so true. And everyone here, everyone that has come here to this event, you've had an impact on each one of us. And you are here. We put this event up an hour ago, and you're here because of the connections we made prior to this event. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you, and everything that you've said, everything that you've added, just thank you.
I mean, I need to sort of compliment you, Kristin, because I mean, I couldn't dream of a better closing. But I mean, to sort of get others to really understand how absolutely fab you are, I need to sort of come up with a meta tag right now, right? So, hashtag absolute fabness, right? And that one's for you, Kristin. So,
thank you.
That's kind of 1 hour, right? I mean, obviously, you are more than welcome to ping any one of us, join our communities, join our Sarah's Wednesday Zaps. I am known to have done the occasional Hangouts as well. Until next time, be fabulous and seriously consider how your story can be impactful. And I'm doing what a friend Jerry Mikulski did, always closing Hangouts this. And he's doing kind of strange signs like this, and not much of those, but more of these, right? So I got curious, and then I had to ask him, right, what's this then, right? No, that's nothing. That's just mad waves, right? So it's kind of, I've just stolen that from him because it's just a wonderful way to end it. And without much further than that, it's